everybody, you're watching the first episode of On-Demand Business Expansion in Asia podcast. We talk about all the issues concerning business expansion of companies from United States and Europe into Asia Pacific and Greater China regions. Our main goal is to find the best solution for Western companies, which they may use relatively quickly and cheap for start their sales process overseas. If you ever consider to enter Asian markets, join our fascinating journey, find all the answers on your questions, and expand. Your business is Asia. Today's the second episode, and we are about to find the answer on the question, is it hard for United States or European Union company to expand its business in Asia, and why? And please welcome my co-hosts, Raymond Mak, the co-founder and CEO of WeExpand from Hong Kong. Hello, Mak. Hello, Raymond.
Hello, everyone.
Raymond Liu, WeExpand Business Partner from Hong Kong too. Hello, Raymond.
Hello. How everyone?
And me is Eugene Romanenko, aka CryptoEmcee from European side from Belarus. So, gentlemen, let me ask you, firstly, for beginning, the main question I'm so interested in: what do not U.S. and U.S. companies know or do not understand about Asian markets before entering them? Let's start with Raymond Mak. What don't they know, Raymond?
Okay, I think with you guys mentioning about Asian expansion, and many minds go to China, India, and Japan, or even Hong Kong. These are large markets, and commerce in this place is booming. These are also tough markets as well, where many companies struggle to find their place. For one thing, without significant resources in this region, it can be nearly impossible to create a noticeable presence. It is not that these are unsuitable markets for conquest, quite the opposite. There are so many businesses that want to expand into this place that it takes a significant amount of time and resources just to survive. And there is a notion that business can move into Asian market and they will have immediate access to technical and sales resources. The reality is much more complex than that. The hiring process in nations like China and Hong Kong is quite involved. You will have to face-to-face meet up to all the candidates. Many companies find that they cannot navigate it without the assistance of employment service firm. That is my point.
That's great. And Raymond Liu, how do you think, what don't Western companies know about Asian markets before entering them?
Yeah, just refer to Raymond Mak. Just like the employment to the Asian market is difficult because you can't find a suitable person easily. And in the other hand, because when you enter those markets, you always need the same face, local language, with the same culture. So some people will like, oh, maybe I set up an office in Singapore or set up an office in Hong Kong. I target the whole Asian market. But what I can tell you that I've been working in the whole Asia market, and it's even for me, it's a little bit difficult to talk with the local because they want the same language and the same faces. So that's the most likely because of the culture. That will be the main concern to the companies who want to enter the Asian market.
You know, gentlemen, that's a very great opportunity to know the real insights from Asia, because we are all on the planet Earth. We are listening and watching to the mainstream media, and they are, they are transforming and giving us, trying to supply us with different, the common mythology about what's going on in business. And I want to ask you, do you know what are the main myths about Asian markets existing in the heads of Western businessmen? How do Western businessmen, why do they think wrong, and what specifically wrong they think about Asian market, which really does not exist, but they think it exists? Do you know?
Let me start first.
Yeah, okay, man.
In my mind, there are basically two myths in the head of Western businessmen. The first one is large Western company will actually dominate local competitors. While internationalization become faster and global network, just like Facebook, LinkedIn, become more powerful. As a result, while local competitors have a huge home turf advantages in Asia, I don't think anyone is safe from global competition. More complex than they expected. Just like eBay competes with Alibaba, Facebook, Tencent, WeChat, and also Apple and Samsung, Xiaomi. And the second point I think in their mind is Asian startup will never be successful launching their product in the Western market. This has been perhaps the hardest challenge for Asia-based startup. First of all, Asian startup must truly understand why they want to launch product in the Western market. But the most important thing is the product market fit. It's the main successful factor in a large or a more competitive market. There are some exceptions where Asia companies are exporting technology or products that is essentially more advanced or has a unique value proposition in the Western market. More dramatically, we have been a huge influx of investment coming from Asian companies that have become a tech giant in their own right. Just like what we always call BAT, B-A-T, BAT. Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the Western startup in the past few years.
Sounds great. Raymond Liu, do you have anything to add for Raymond?
I would like to adding a little bit points, like when the Western company, they think about coming to do their business, they always think about the core value of and the core functions of their product or their solutions, right? But in Asian markets, it's only 50% on looking into your core value and function. The next 50% is talking about the relationship and the networking, right? When you do the business in Asia, they talk about is when people come down to talking business, they hardly know. Are they telling the truth? Do they like my product? Do they like my solutions? It's all about how you bonding with those decision makers to make them understand what you're providing, and also let them know what you really want to build a deeply relationship with them. So that will be another myth for them, how to build a relationship and network right there.
Well, we know that relationships, understanding that personality of your business partner is quite more important for Asia. Definitely I'm by my past, we were all born in Soviet Union, and Soviet Union is quite more Asian country, and we do understand what do relationship mean. And most our Western partners, they do not understand. They try to do business before setting the relations, and that does not work. And the main goal,
because they just like all the businessmen in West, and they're more likely when I first see you, I like to know what my proposal is, what my value are, and what is my biggest powerful functions of my products. We can help you do blah blah blah. Normally the Asians, they would say, all right, it's really great, but however, is it really great to them? It's all about how you're building the relationship with them to hit to their problems, and otherwise they won't tell you anything, right?
Yes, and I too very like the way of our discussion, because we are talking about the core values of doing business with Western companies with Asian markets. So gentlemen, let's go further, and I want to ask you about the typical mistakes from your huge viewpoint of experience. Gentlemen, what typical mistakes, name 2, 3, or 4 or 5 typical mistakes Western companies usually do when they are entering Asia? Let's start with Raymond Mak.
Thank you. Let me point out some, I think 2 enough. The first one is they will always think hire one people is enough for both Hong Kong and China market. I can say it is not enough. Hong Kong, yes, very close to China. Yes, this is definitely. But different culture and lots of things is different, and the geographical location is also different. So don't think that one-man bank strategies in Hong Kong for Asia market. And the second point is to formulate the strategies to Asia market by our Western people may not be the right choice, because please think in this way. You will have to think regionally but act locally. Try to find one local person to help you to formulate the strategies and localize it, and then you will have more returns from this angle. This is what my point.
That's great, and thank you for this way of thinking. One of the next episode we will dedicate for the main difference between Hong Kong and China, because Hong Kong is the most, we have with Singapore, that's the most Western oriented part of Asia. Even it is not Asia, it's like a piece of Western on the Asia. We, Western people do think so because of huge British past. That's one big story, and we will dedicate the episode. So Raymond Liu, what is your version of typical mistakes of Western companies entering Asian markets?
I'm agreeing with Raymond Mak what he's saying, but I would like to add one more point is about the culture differences. Because normally when Western people come to Hong Kong, give you an example of my previous experiences. New Zealand and also Ireland come over to Hong Kong. They're doing the business is quite lack flexibility. What does it mean lack flexibility? Because there's a lot of requirement from the customers, with a lot of different product feature they want this and they want that, and they will strictly say no to those customer requests because that's may not be suitable for them, and or may not be suitable for the products, and they strictly will formulate negative emotions to those customers and also to your partner as well. So in this case, like the culture difference is how to soften all the relationships, soften the networking. That's how to, that's normally the Western company come over to Asia. They make a little bit mistakes about how trade. Because in Western, if I say no to you, because I be honest to you, because people will be value and treasure about what you're talking about, you're telling me the truth, right? But in Asia, a little bit different is when you're telling them the truth, they may not be feeling good, they may not feel comfortable about that. So what they will do is how you translate your negative, translate your no into different language. What does mean different language is? In other words, is tell them no in separate way, to make sure that they understand them and make them comfortable. Because in Asia, how to make your customer and your partner to feel comfortable is the main successful factor on that.
Well, thank you for this switching to the next question. I wonder about even the culture barriers. Culture barriers, one of the most recognizable barrier in overseas connections. What is it? How do these culture barriers manifest in typical day-to-day work? And more important, how do they hamper doing business for Westerns in Asia? Let's start with Raymond Liu.
As I mentioned about that, there's a lot of different cultural differences. I named two examples for you. The last example is how to say no, but however, in the second example is how do you make business when you're having a barrier of the language. So people would like to, for example, Eugene, you would like to have the same face to talk to you sometimes when you're having a key decision making, and even talk in your language, not in English, maybe in Russian, or maybe in Japan they want Japanese, in Chinese they want Mandarin. They want people talking the same language, understand their positions. So maybe some Western will say, oh, I talk about ROI, return on investment, I talk about all the value, I talk about all your function. But is it enough for them? Because it's really about is how people saying the same language to them to tell them what your concern and how do I help you on the concern. So language is one of the barriers. It does not mean that the people doesn't treasure of the Western company of their value, but however, if someone in the same language, they will feel more comfortable and they will more willing to take a pen and sign on your contract. So make sure that everything should be settled.
Okay, let me change the way gentlemen, you are from Hong Kong. You are Hong Kongers. Honestly saying, Hong Kong is, like we study history, is not typical Asia. It's a strong British territory with the British law and British tradition. And we speak English with you. You are speaking English. English is your native language. Do you Hong Kongers feel cultural or language barriers with a typical United States or British or German gentleman coming to Asia and trying to connect? Do you feel this culture or language barriers? You would not, by my opinion. Or maybe you have another answer? Raymond Mak.
I think you're right. I think after understanding well the culture, the other part is the communication. But luckily we have, as you said, English as the key communication language between, let's say, Hong Kong people or maybe a Western company. I don't think communication is a problem. But honestly, what does it mean by culture is the way of interaction or the way of doing business, or even what we call it is the dynamics between the people in between or within the business environment. So what I can say is cultural understanding should be a driving factor in many of the decisions that you make. For example, marketing, product localization, customer relations are all efforts that will be more successful if you know the traditional involved.
Okay, the next, yes, I wanted to mention that one of the next episodes we will dedicate to rules of correct cultural communication. We will discuss different core points about how to culturally correct behave in Asia for Western guys. And let's go further. I often heard the next statement from guys from Asia, from Singapore especially. They told me that Asian people want to be similar as Western people, literally. And what does it mean? They want to wear like Western. They want to look like Western. They want to behave like Western people. They try to copy in different behavior style. I don't know, is this true or not? And tell me please, is it true? And if it's so, how it manifests? And if it's so, is it maybe a basic advantage for Western company coming into Asia because they are the object? The Asian people want to be looking like that. Is it advantage or not? Tell me your opinion on this interesting point. Let's start with Raymond Liu.
I would say it's a little bit true. I would say 70% of the Asian, they want to they want to learn from the Western company or Western style. The main reason is, I will conclude in one word, is detail. Because in Western, when you build something up, it's talking about how you detail it, like when you're building a building, how details of each of the joint, how details of your materials, what kind of the, even you're building an IT solution, they will make it how the security, they will think of the all around before they send out the ready products on this one. So in my opinion is Asian people want to learn all the details, how the Western people and European want to do. So why the Western company come over, or Western people come over to Hong Kong or come over to Singapore when they work in those companies, people would like them to be a management role or even like them to be part of the development or product development role. The reason behind is because they love the details and they saw the things is they want to make things perfect So that's how the benefits of the Western company.
Well, Raymond Mak, do you have to add anything for this?
Yeah. I think this is a very interesting question. I think this is somewhat like a concept in our region, like the trends from Asia are only relevant to that region. I think the major belief behind the scene is the wide difference in cultures. Some successful early concepts and strategies were really honed in the Asian market. Recent examples have shown that Asian trends can now serve as a peek into the future of what will develop in the Western market. The most important thing in business development or doing business is grab the market impulse, get a chance to learn and expand. Ideally, having a platform for a company to communicate with Asia people like Hong Kong talent and ask for their insight about the local market and minimize the gap. Somewhat like giving them a test and taste capability before heavy investment into any other regions. That is exactly what WeExpand want to achieve too.
Okay, gentlemen, let's make some warnings for our viewers, listeners. Could you tell me what should United States or European Union companies, what should they think carefully about before trying to enter Asian market? Very, very carefully think before even consider they enter the Asian market. Let's start with Raymond Liu.
Carefully thinking is because I don't worry about the product and the solutions that Western or your company they provided. It's all around the cover everything up. But I would like to mention about two things. First thing is it a local fit product? Local fit means it is connected, integrated with available in locally. And the other point is about the flexibility. Because in Asian market, they have a lot of different leads from different companies. Even the same industry, they have different standard or they have different requirement on that. Do you have the flexibility to change? That's the most important elements when you're processing thinking to enter the market of Asia. Because when you think about in this way is when you come down to sell your product and solutions, if you can't have the flexibility to adopt in their way or adopt what they need, it's really hard for them to go ahead.
Okay, Raymond Mak, your opinion about this?
I think one of the things that Western company must think carefully is the strategies. What I mean is what strategies are you formulating for which country and by who? I think it is most important. For Asian market, there are lots of peoples, great resources and great potential. The question to them is how they are able to access them. That's why WeExpand create a platform for a company to build their own sales opportunity network by leveraging on-demand virtual sales force. And last things but not least is prepare themselves the concept of try and error in the region. That will be much more helpful for them.
Okay, let's talk about competition. Every company generally afraid competition, wants to find its unique niche where it will be no competitors at all. It's unreal for so developed market like Asia. And with whom Western companies will definitely compete having entered Asia? Do you have any ideas? Because I think there is no one niche not filled, or maybe there is something unique Western companies which are producing unique products which any Asian company does not produce. What do you think about competition of Western companies in Asia? Let's start with Raymond Liu.
I agree. I'm totally agree with you. It's like there will not be no competitions in the world except you're selling a product in an island, which is just one person right there. So there's no competition for you, I would say in this way. But the thing is, I would not say how unique of your solutions or how unique is your product. You need the network, as I mentioned in the very beginning. You need the network and relationships on this one. So what I would say is more network means you have more talent to help you to work on your product. So that will be how to solve your competition, because as I mentioned, 50% is how when you're selling a product, is 50% is on the relationship and the networking on this part. As far as they mentioned by Raymond Mak, is WeExpand is help you to expand your workforce and expand your network in Hong Kong or in the Asian market. So what we are doing here is helping our client and helping the company in this platform to expand their networking, expand their relationships. So basically, when people come over to us, we'll ask like how we can expand, how we can do more relationship and networking. You can't do it by one person, you can't do it by two persons. You need a community to help you on this part. So that's the competition should be solved. So it's not how to tackle what the competition are, it's how you tackle the competition.
Well, Raymond Mak, give us your opinion about the competition issues for Westerns in Asia.
Yeah, allow me to say the largest competitor is themselves. At the first step to Asia or other markets. Let me elaborate in this way. When they come into a new market, they have to do a lot of adjustment to adopt the market. If they don't invest on that, don't talk about competition. That is my point.
That's the wisdom. I love it. That's the wisdom. So, gentlemen, we are continuing. We are going to almost the end of our podcast, but let's discuss the next. Maybe just a provocational question. Maybe concerning all we have said before, the best way for Western company from United States or European Union is not even consider to think about Asian markets at all. They should not even think about anything. Stay home in quarantine, sell your goods on your own country. Maybe that's the best way of thinking. Of course, I'm joking, but what do you think about that?
Let me answer this interesting question first. Definitely no, Eugene, and also Western people or your follower definitely no. The best way is to have the right strategies executed at the right platform with the help of local resources. And also their willingness to change and the adoption of the emerging market are also key to success. One sentence in Chinese is, I'm not sure if you heard this before, the sentence is, even a dragon finds it hard to control a snake in its own heart. You know what I mean, right, Eugene?
Yeah.
Please repeat. This is the proverb. Even the dragon. Once again.
Okay. Even a dragon finds it hard to control a snake in its own heart.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Raymond Liu, your opinion.
I would say if you don't think about the Asian market, maybe you are a farmer, just go for your own food right there. So basically in the economic, right now we are talking about the global economic, especially on the e-commerce side, right? So in the whole globalization in this way is, if you think about when you come over to Asia, think deeply is what is your core challenge. And I really agree with Raymond Mak on what he just mentioned is the biggest challenge is themselves. If you don't adopt it in the local way, it's really hard for you to come over. And you really want, if you don't want to consider for a change, you better stay home, I would say in this way. So when you consider have a change, even Instagram followers and what we say is the key KOL right there, what they are doing is they try to influence the people around the world, around the global. So they are not just influence what they are thinking is in their locally, right? So what we are thinking is you just adopt the local and prepare for change. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, you have seen that our podcast will be fulfilled with Asian wisdom and Asian philosophy, and it's inevitable because if you are entering Asia, the region which is quite more older than the Western world, you need to understand how the Asian people think and how they behave. Study Sun Tzu, Chinese philosophy, and so on and so forth, and it will help you to understand. And listen to our podcast. So, gentlemen, we move to the final question. Give me your final conclusions, please. Would you recommend to Western companies to expand to Asian markets, and why? Your main advice on this question. Let's start with Raymond Mak.
First thing first, welcome to Asia market. Absolutely yes, especially Hong Kong is the place where I born. I love Hong Kong much, and also Hong Kong is the Asia hub to both China and Asian market. In Hong Kong, we have lots of resources like talent, infrastructure, and the agency that help you to set up the company and platform like what we're offering. Yes, please come to Hong Kong or even the Asia market for your business expansion. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond Mak. And the final conclusions of Raymond Liu, would you recommend to Western companies to consider expansion in the Asian market, and why?
Yes, the same as Raymond Mak is I would really welcome the company to come to Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is really the financial hub in Asia. So when you go to Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, or even in Japan, Korea, it's the main hub for you to grow your business in Asia. Especially behind us, there's 70 billion of the Chinese people right there to ready for your solutions and products. So consider on the statistics, if you want to grow your product and make it worldwide instead of just in your own country, that will be a particular good place, excellent place for you to start your business right here.
Well, gentlemen, and the last bonus final question had been raised in my head. When we talk about Asia, you are now in Hong Kong. You are sitting in Hong Kong. You have partners worldwide. When we talk about Asia, Asia is the biggest part of the world. It starts with the Middle East on the west, Iraqi, Israel, and so on. Then it continues to the China, Kazakhstan, then in south it's India, then China, Asia Pacific, Indonesia, Malaysia, and even to Australia. Very, very huge region. Consists almost up to 50 countries. Very interesting. The overpopulation in Asia is more than 4 billion people, if I'm not mistaken. When we talk about Asia, do we mean just Great China region, Hong Kong region, maybe Indonesia and Singapore, or you're able to cover all the Asian countries? I do understand that sounds fantastic, but maybe just give us hope, or do not give us hope. Let's talk about just Asia Pacific only.
I think it's all about where you want your big bet to go into. I think Hong Kong can help you to reach out China, and also geographically, Hong Kong is very close to like Singapore or Asian market, and also Japan. So for me, if you invest in Hong Kong, you will actually have the advantages of geographical location and also the best resources in the world to reach out your business in China, and also extend the business into the Singapore, and leveraging Singapore or Hong Kong resources to extend it into the Asian market, just like what you mentioned, Malaysia market or Vietnam market. And also another one big bet is India. It is absolutely a separate market that we may need to have a separate discussion, just like Japan. Because when everyone talk about we want to take the whole APAC, it doesn't mean that it includes Japan. Most of the company will exclude Japan because they think that Japan and India is a very special market, actually just like China. But why people think that Hong Kong is good? Because Hong Kong is part of China, and also culturally is very close to China, and it will help the company to expand the business a lot.
Do you have anything to add, Raymond Liu?
In geographically, it's talking about the logistics. When you are selling a product, it's most likely the custom, how you get into those ports and then how to ship your product to the markets, right? Hong Kong has the second biggest port in the world to ship for the shipment and logistics. So that makes us to be a shipment hub for China. People want to sell their product to the other world, or even the world come down to Hong Kong, want to ship back to China for the selling as well. So in logistically is mainly a fantastic place. And also in the financially, because we have the financial freedom, we have the connection with the USD. So that makes the currency help our client, help our customers to develop in Hong Kong, to spread out to their world, to their whole Asian market.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for this excellent conversation. I have found a huge bunch of topics we will be covering in the next episodes. I suggest to devote any episode to specific country, episode for China, episode for Japan, episode for Malaysia, episode for Hong Kong, episode for Macau, the Portugal, and so on and so forth. It will be very interesting journey. And ladies and gentlemen, I said in the beginning, join us this interesting journey to Asia. I'm super excited. The future events in our podcast. So thank you very much, Raymond Mak and Raymond Liu. I hope you, ladies and gentlemen, have found answers on your questions. And if you have not, please be so kind and ask your questions in the comments below, and we will inevitably give you an answer in the next episodes. This podcast is brought to you by WeExpand, an autonomous business expansion platform that creates sales opportunities through on-demand virtual sales force based on gig workers with a deep understanding of the local market. WeExpand uses artificial intelligence to provide tailored service based on your business behavior and blockchain technology to increase the traceability, transparency, and trust between businesses and the sales persons. Go to weexpand.co, link below, register your company, and find your first remote local salespersons in Asia. I am Eugene Romanenko, aka CryptoEmcee, the communication facilitator in the blockchain world with an in-depth knowledge of the Astro economics. I am available worldwide as an MC for online or flight events, interviewer, co-host, or even content contributor on demand for your purposes. Just visit CryptoEmcee.com, subscribe on my Facebook page, YouTube channel, or add me on LinkedIn. Tell me if I may help you, and stay tuned for the next episodes of On Demand Business Expansion in Asia podcast. See ya.